Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Minneapolis Television Network live poetry reading. Tonight, we got Dr. Chris R. Powell, Vincent Sharma, Aaron Joshua Perra, and Diane Moomey. As usual, I'll start off reading a couple poems, and then we'll get going with the other poets. A new mask. Identity is easier to expose than self. A change of costume may be the persona of a better life. You can wear a bad emblem, angel wings, or a pair of horns. I am only kidding can be your mantra. Your shadows are spied as you try various disguises. Only a few mislead. If only you could see through the rags you wore. If you could ignore the failed impression, weigh the inner with the outer, and see one worthy of respect, to be able to proclaim, I know who I am. But you wake in the midnight dream, a bony finger pointing towards the tombstone. Once awake, you try a new mask, a happy face, a giver, hoping to prevent the premonitions. I always thought this theme of this next poem carries back to some traditions in poetry, like his coy mistress or a passionate shepherd. It's called Ah, Come On. Ah, come on now, we could have fun. Have a picnic, read John Donne. Forget about the bell which rings. Practice the rituals of spring. Although we wear the guise of autumn, although we are ready for a fall, although life is not an oyster, it is much more than a discarded shell waiting for the ocean to call. Do you hear it call? Where's those waves? Shall we run? Oh, come on now, we could have fun. Don't worry about walking down a forlorn path. The days of scarlet A's and throwing stones are long gone. Have no concern that where angels reside, demons tend to hide, waiting for us to walk on by, to slip into a lie as easily as a jacket. Our deeds demand we hide from the daunting sun. Ah, come on now, we could have fun. Don't think how it will be after. For every encounter brings something to share, like laughter, a pause from daily stress, or a moment for beauty's vapor to wrap us as we dream of ghosts moving through the space between forgotten trees, the pockets of air singing like the winds howl, waiting for the rain or something wet to come. Oh, come on now, we could have fun. The pain of living resounds, delivering repercussions of false dreams. We do not have to hear that sound. We may gaze at the stillness gone from the pond, the ripples that bring us no harm. It occurs to me, we could make this universe our ball with a gentle squeeze. See, you could be the one. Oh, come on now, we could have fun. Perhaps this is the way to piece the world together. All hope turns to strife as the wind turns paper to a twist and swirl, a moment hovering, then falling back to ground as strife descends to hope again. Like that look in your eyes, that tug on your sweater. Too long, too much we struggled against the force of nature, that hangs like splendor in the air. It whispers, fill our lungs. Ah, come on, I won't tell anyone. Our first poet tonight is Dr. Chris R. Powell. He's a poet and author of fiction and nonfiction, in addition to being a solutions architect, researcher, and inventor. With his wife, Laura, he runs Glen Merrill Farm, producing eggs and rabbits, although for the latter, they do largely produce themselves. There are 10 kids, talking about rabbits. There are 10 kids, 3 grandkids, and Irish Wolfhound are the center of their world, when not mucking out animal pens. His poetry has been published in several anthologies and a book co-written with Laura Fossica. Take it away, Chris.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. First poem is a 2-part Italian sonnet called As the Fire Dances. The first part of it's serious, the second part a little more humorous. As the firelight dances across her lips, I think to the sun setting in the mist, and my own lips touching hers, we kissed. Drawn nearer to her, touching fingertips, my heart beats clear, in her rhythm it clips. The spirits through the gloaming in our midst, The moon did rise, its glowing ascent mist, the lake in the fog, gently passing ships. My prayer this morning answered in full, ere did I wonder, hearts longing evermore, sometimes doubting, yet miracles were born. As eagle's wings soar, again the wind's strong pull, I am led back to lips glint and fiery ardor. In that light and her love am I reborn. As the firelight dances across her hips, I think to the fun of making a list of how many times we kissed and missed, once catching my mouth in her hair clips. My heart's in a tizzy, these pumps and blips, awkward glowing, filling my eyes with mist. As her elbow did fly once, my face in a twist, my head in a fog, as water I sips. Love's song this morning I bray like a bull, ere did I wonder, my head being sore, my face duly pouting, or a sunrise this morn. But back to her side, wrapped in love's stronger pull, I sprint back to those hips, quaffing liquor that bump on my head, red and newly born. Thank you. My next poem is part of a few that I think speak to fall a bit, and the first one is a dream's reflection. A leaf on bended twig, the moon rises behind, rustling, a mouse might dig, the air crisp, breath intertwined. I walk along night's moonlit path, in a dream apparently, in the stream, a raccoon's midnight bath, of his snack only he finds rightly tasty. An owl tells me he has topics to discuss. Through his gentle, lowing, hooting, seems my dream has brought him thus. 'Tis time for me to pause in midnight walking. I turn to face the moon and ask my owl friend whether all that has happened is real. And the moon beams. Its silence sends, the owl affirms, the mouse holds its squeal. I have broached the eternal, and the night held still. For a moment in the sky, even Luna turned to look. I focused on the twig, the water in the rill, my breath still visible by raccoon's washing brook. My question had been answered by many come before, all who had slept and paused on thought's silent shore, and listened to an owl, or watched a raccoon, or simply stopped for a second and even noticed the moon. I watched as my breath floated up Luna's way, an owl drifted silently off into dark night. I resumed my slow rhythmic walk towards the day, my slumber resumed, mouse's shadow in twilight. The next one is a warm November day on Little Butternut Lake. A canoe takes light on the placid lake. The cool mists reluctantly find crannies among dry catkins and reeds. As the sun finds the crest of an elegant swan, who bends down, a drink to take. Sun ever lower now, colder winds hasten Cobb's speed. Looking up and back, his mate, his pen never to forsake. Swans' bugles play and early morning's reveille, a late season signet between them, not yet in full white satin glory. The early ice still hugs the shore tightly, as the beautiful swans tell their charge, their lore, and family story. A breeze blows redolent, warm notes of late fall, as the Indian summer blazes in full display. Azure sky, crystal waters, gray trees, pumpkins floating, water tall. A geese convention debates when to disembark this idyllic way. The lowered sun begins its departure much too soon. Our canoe points toward shore across glassy water. The campfire licks and beckons under a rising moon as our signet gently bugles one last query to Cobfather. Thank you. This one I'm going to say it's a Kushla Makri, or literally beat of my heart in Irish, and I'm going to speak to it hopefully in a bit of an Irish brogue. The day breaks sweet, the sundew heat, the godwit wades, the sun retreats. The Irish grass waves as the breeze blows by. A brown crab sidles as tides beckon and sigh. Off the coast of Connemara, the water that is there has the bluest gorum green glass glow that takes me to the eyes of my Ben Allen, Laura fair, my Kushla Makri lady free, my Kylie Dowsa dancing girl, playing music for my soul, strumming heartstrings, twirls again. Hair of spun gold flaxen, fresh from heaven's angel looms. Godwit, grass, and surf all bow and wave to Kylie Dowsa as she goes dancing past. Surely as the sun every day rises in the east, o'er my farm and heart so humble on this Connemara coast, one day I shall be worthy to rise above my common station and ply my troth to Ben Allen with her gorum glass eyes so fair. We shall marry on the morning in white and black with horses near, with lily of the valley and peony and rose. For her sweetness, me for honor, and rose for passion, carried tree, with a chamrock for good luck, of course, a prayin' all the way. The day grows long, the moon dew cool, the e'entide ebbs, the fog rolls in. The long-eared owl within the copse hoots softly low, a muffled chant. Closely bound and closely found, we together, I and she, this e'en fair and e'en thick and e'en dense and moon fair be. One thing I know among all else, my telltale heart that does beat free, my life complete, my love so sweet, my lady free, Kushla Makri. This one is an interesting one I composed in my backyard one day. It's Trilogy of Nature's Death. The battles begin, the sides are drawn, the die are cast. Age-old rivalries with characters from eras so long ago that no one remembers the chickens, the eggs, the scores, or the why. I will draw you the picture. The first attacker makes her way, and of course, skillfully, cheerfully, the bark yielding to every move. She proceeds like a shield maiden of heritage Norse, her helmet and skull as one interwove, assaulting the tree in search of her prey, slashing, pounding, never stopping, ever going, the trees drumming, the beetles' feet are clay, as the downy woodpecker continues her dining. Our second predator circles on high, as meek and small his prey tries to hide. The higher the flyer, the shadow he plies becomes so small, the more time to bide. The meadow mouse moves, exposing himself. The high flyer swoops in great silent arc. Before the tiny critter can swallow and dwell, the arcing hawk's claws have left their death mark. All of these play out daily in my yard. One more is left in this triage of doom. Were it not for laws against weapons discharge, this particular Hassan Pfeffer's name would go boom. For daily he oppresses me and my garden by tearing my poor hostas like a bar made of salad. People say they are so cute, but my heart only hardens, and only of their simmering in stew will I write any ballad. And my last one, I think I have time for just one more, is called Moonlight. Her hair in the moonlight, a silver golden braid, as she stands fully glowing in an illumined midnight glade, an owl softly hooting as a zephyr exhales sweetly, creatures bedding softly, smiling, lowing towards this angel wrapped discreetly, with clouds zipping in the breeze, twixt moon and angel's glade, playing with the moon, sliding, twisting in cascade, the moon's light beams slowly, moving earnestly on its way, shining on our angel's hair, fully ensuring every angle has its way. Her dress like her movement, gliding, lightly, freely, softly, white, like the light, floating, flitting, swiftly, sifting. The warm summer air follows closely on each bird's bended wing. Luna's princess sweet walks the earth, morning dew following, painting leaves, fields, and fanes, torpid turtles, and far more, as her nightly walk continues, lightly touching, ever shining, till she reaches sunlight's door. Her hair in the moonlight a silver golden braid beckons all to follow her in the warm, soft summer glade. As the night begins to close and her nightly walk is done, her dance begins, her arms swing wide, her feet and dress are spun. Moon's light shines down a pool of white, surrounding her, a wonderful ballet. As night gives way to early dawn, the start of sunlight's brand new day. Whirling hair and dress so fine ascends a secret stair towards a place of long told legend, a castle, a place for Lady Fair, where our maiden rests till moon's eternal rise again, and her hair and braid will shine again in silver golden glory. And her dress and dance and dew will grace us all and spin again in this never ending story. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris. Glad you were able to get you on this month. Next poet is Vincent Sharma, who fell in love with narrative poetry after reading The Rime of the Ancient Mariner in middle school. He has been using poetry to tell stories ever since. His other passions include parkour and history. He grew up in Kokomo, Indiana, and currently lives in St. Paul. Take it away, Vincent.
Thank you. So ever since reading The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, I've loved telling stories using poetry. And my homage to Samuel Taylor Coleridge was to write a satire, a humorous satire of The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It is called The Rime of the Modern Hobo, and that will be my only story for today. I'm a traveling hobo, ain't looking for no grief, have my hat out in my hand, but ain't looking for relief. If you put 2 cents in my hat in God's holy name, I'll send your prayers to God, good sir, and leave you with the same. I'm a traveling hobo, and there's a reason on this day that I'm stopping you out about on your busy way. Take one good look at my glittering eye and feel my steady hand, 'cause before I die, I have to try to tell how it all began. There was a ship, that's what I said. There was a ship we had. The USS Albatross was sailing the Atlantic Sea. Leaving the harbor, we sailed quite merrily. No one knew when we set sail that our voyage would end so sad. She was a little white tour ship, and she was brand new. She had a mighty captain aboard and a jolly crew. She was on her maiden voyage she'd never saved before. We sailed from New York Harbor on a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour. The sun rose in front of us. We sailed out of sight of the land. We laughed and drank and partied, our frozen drinks in hand. When off the bow the captain saw dark storm clouds forming high. Too late he turned the ship round, for he was doomed to die. The storm was like a baggage train rumbling all around. The ship was tossed, our engine lost in the thunder's fearsome sound. We all awoke the following day and could not find the land. Our captain was washed overboard, abandoning our band. Then I looked down, and there I saw a dolphin in the sea. He clucked and chirped and bobbed his head as he smiled up at me. I said, by Jove, this dolphin is the key to our escape. Let's follow this cetacean back. He'll lead us from this place. So we grabbed some oars from the lifeboats and put them in the sea, and pulled and groaned and heaved and moaned as we rowed merrily. And inch by inch it was a cinch to follow the dolphin west. His chirping sounds put us in bound to the place that we had left. For days we followed our happy pet through shifting, heaving sea. But then our food ran low and hunger got the best of me. I grabbed the dolphin and hauled it up, and before I knew what I was doing, I covered it with smoky sauce and had it barbecuing. Hungry passengers gathered round and congratulated me. What a clever man you are. We can all eat finally. We ate the meat with margaritas and partied all around. When someone asked how we get to the land we hadn't found, I said, I think the dolphin was headed that-a-way. They said, no biggie, we got booze enough for days. So we floundered in the sea a while, our clothing damp with sweat. when Big Fred went down below to get something cold and wet. He jimmied the locked liquor chest and horror met his eyes. It had only bottled water. The liquor had run dry. We searched the ship from back to prow for spirits to consume. We searched each hold and crevice twice and searched through every room. All we found was bottled water in each place that we looked. Our frantic search produced no booze from room or hold or nook. Water, water everywhere. Our minds were at the brink. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. All we found was Evian in each place that we searched. The passengers started panicking, and then they went berserk. Their heads full of tequila, their bellies with dolphin meat. They turned on me, the bloody drunks, and bound me hand and feet. You lousy jerk, you killed the thing that would have led us home. You'll wear this reminder around your neck wherever you may roam. They were a rowdy, drunken crowd that filled my bones with dread. They grabbed a bottle of Cuervo and hung it below my head. And I wore it day and night as we drifted in the sea, until one day in the sun's bright light a shape appeared to me. I saw a shape like none other. It looked like a green cloud. It nearer grew, and then I knew at last we had been found. I hadn't had a drop of liquor in almost a whole week. My throat was dry, my mind was blank, my body frail and weak. I tried to open my mouth to speak, but no words would come out. I wanted to tell my boating crew. I wanted to yell and shout. Then I looked down around my neck and I saw a drop, a speck, a glistening golden precious fleck of tequila in the bottle round my neck that I upended and I drank. Jose Cuervo gave me the strength to say what I had to say. Look up, my fellow boating crew, there is a sail, you see it too. And as the ship came closer near, we saw it painted front to rear, with signs of peace and dove and deer and rainbow colors bright and gay. Rainbow Warrior was written high on that ship's dark green prow. With silken sails it came our way, and we all wondered how. We had such luck to find that ship, we thanked our lucky stars. The green ship's crew called out to us and asked us who we were. There was a maiden on that ship that captained that grimy get. She wore Birkenstocks and her name tag said Lola. Her grungy black hair meant she was a granola. And she called out, "Have you folks by chance seen our lost dolphin pet?" And all the crew upon my ship looked at me and then fled. Like rats fleeing a sinking ship, they headed down below the wood, while I trembled and muttered, and then I said, "Your pet tasted really good." Lola's face was a mask of rage as she turned to her first mate. "Ramming speed," she cried aloud, and in her eyes I saw her hate. And her ship sped straight towards our boat. I wondered how long we'd stay afloat, and I trembled at my fate. And then I sank down to my knees, and I waved my hands in the air. "O God of creatures great and small, I ask you hear my prayer. I'm sorry I ate my dolphin Powell. It never did hurt me." And as the words left my lips, the bottle of Cuervo then did slip from around my neck and disappeared into the sea. And out of nowhere, a great wind blew and drove Rainbow Warrior east. Her sails puffed and her cabin and her crew ran to tame nature's heavy hand. And she turned like a giant, and she turned like a great beast and sailed away and left us in peace. And then it all came clear to me. I knew what I had to do. I remembered my hidden stash, a bottle of Cuervo that I'd held fast and saved in my room and hidden from the crew. I brandished the bottle and the whole crew heard its sloshing sound. Out they came from down below, and each had a swig as they drank it slow. And they had the strength to man the oars and pull with all their might. And off our boat went once again toward the red sun setting light. For a day and a night, it was a sight to see the drunk crew heft. With each shot of tequila, it seemed they grew stronger and more deft. As we sailed past midnight's hour, I looked into the night with a steady glower, when off in the distance with my glittering eye, I thought I spied a lighted tower. The lights they danced and bobbed on the waves as we came close to the shore. And I saw Lady Liberty, how calm she looked, so pure, so free, and she was the most beautiful sight my wet eyes e'er did see. And when our ship found the dock, the crew let out a cheer. All but me were glad to see the city lights appear, for I knew that I had changed and now I'd have to roam. I left my high-paid Wall Street job and wandered away from home. And ever since I've wandered far and wide as I ride the rails. And everywhere I go, I tell this story without fail. Be kind to every bird and beast in land or sky or sea, for God Almighty loves them all as he loves you and me. Love nature's beauty from deep within your breast, For he who loves all God's creations is he who loveth best. Now my mission here is done, and once again I seek the train. I wander around the country wide in snow and sun and rain. I wander so that I can tell the story to each person that I see, and they can understand God's love, and by that they changed will be. So take my advice and love all things in each and every place, and always keep an extra bottle of Cuervo handy just in case. Thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Vincent. Always love that parody. Next up, we have Aaron Joshua Perra, whose book is Triggers and Love, available on Amazon, published by Potter's Will Publishing. Aaron is a dreamer, artist, writer, actor, and addict. His whole life, he has inspired to make an impact on the world with his vision and creativity. After using drugs for 21 years, he hopes to use his story to inspire others and see the light that still exists in this all too dark world. Aaron lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota with his furry sidekick. He loves to draw inspiration from his experiences and Mother Nature. You can often find him biking, running, and hiking. Nature is what helped Aaron Joshua stay connected and grounded to his higher power. Humility is just one of the reasons for his successes in life. Let's hear from Aaron Joshua Perra.
Thank you, Ron. So yeah, I'm just gonna. So with the book that I came out with, Triggers and Love, is when I write, it comes out more or less when I journal, it comes out in poetry, and so that is how I have the book set up. So I'm just gonna kind of start with a handful of these short little poems I have for you tonight. July 7th, 2022. I lay lonely in my bed, wondering what may have been said. The echoing silent chatter, ruminating matter, contingent clatter, negative spaces encapsulates, degrading, grinding gears, their clanking anomalies. How I have fallen, hitting the ground with my knees. Debris and a bloodshed bed, weeping willows billowing on earth's pillows. Insides of me constantly quivering, continuous questioning, the constant mentioning, the summoning, the queen. I will die, and they will spit on my grave, asking me to behave. You're a cave, you're a cove of the most forgotten individual. Hand them a knife, playing tic-tac-toe on my jugular. All right, next would be July 27th, 2019. Unbeatable beating summer. I love you, sun. How I adore you, my little bumblebee. Look at all of your beauty. You are so ever beautiful to me. The subtle fragrances, the wind carrying you throughout the gleaming world. Everyone enjoying your presence. It's finally all about you. It's always been about you. From the first day to the next, you bring joy, comfort, and charisma. You are what beauty will always be. Thank you. December 29th, 2019. Distortion, mega devastation, a constant accumulation of my humiliation. Cataclysmic catastrophe, a seismic shock, a contingent block. I hear you talking smack, hearing you, but just barely. No longer wanting you to get me. Forget me. Don't envision me. Don't waste your time thinking of me. You lost your chance at knowing me. Shining and smiling with glee. Yesterday, I took a stand for me. Today, I gain growth and personal fame, worth the price and no shame. To a degree, my memory plays tricks on me, just wanting you to please forgive me. All I know is I bleed for you, all of you. I just want to keep being everyone's glue. I always know my color and hue. Any shade of blue will do. Wishing you picked up on all my subtle cues. Thank you. December 21st, 2020. Running away, far away, to only be sinking in quicksand. Dismembered, disbanded, body fragments have landed. It's only what God commanded. Waiting, wishing on you to rush on down, bound, wearing your crown. Tranquil, ambient chaos, you're the finer things, seductive in your woven tapestry. Your body, a stunning masterpiece, a soul seeking release. I can see your beautiful inner beast, how the thought of you is so bright blue. Your skin is soft as the morning dew. And then I just have two more to share with you here. September 13th, 2020. I'm tired of being lonely and insufficiently assuming and amusing. Solitude doesn't put me in the right mood. If anything, it's gasoline to my fire. Buyer beware, he hasn't been handled with very much care. Used and abused, a glutton for punishment, an eager beaver awarding himself with unpleasantness, a constant degrading pest. Visualize these vultures connive, roosting from their nest, fumes of narcissism emitting from their constant crowing. Only fragments of you exist. So is this bliss? Heaven forbids another kiss. And I persist to agree with them on this. And then lastly, this one's really important to me just because this is actually a goodbye letter, basically, to my drug of choice, which was methamphetamines. Dear Tina, it was love at first taste. My first time kissing clouds, how others involved blew it in my face. Not even knowing that behind the curtains, I was falling from grace. I wish I had busted out the mace and sprayed it in your face. I was only 21, but now with impending doom and gloom, if I had only known better. How you remind me of all the mischievous heathers. You are so quite clever. You caught me when I was most vulnerable, but I made the choice to make you the most, my one and only. I ended up becoming so goddamn lonely. And now I'm stuck with the if onlys. But you told me you still loved me and would coddle and hold me. With my heart hurting and slowly hardening, becoming stone like hollow bones, becoming brittle and broken. I'm not even worth one golden token. You are arbitrary. You are a dumb ass fast that didn't last. You threw out a line, you casted your trap, and I fell for your hook. You're a goddamn crook. You took all of me. You're full of greed, and I made you my need. You became something that I couldn't live without. You normalized my use and your abuse. You caused a disorder. Talk about a natural born murderer. Clever, clever, clever. Say goodbye to all of my endeavors. But I'm done with you robbing my joy. Aaron Joshua 2.0 is ready and deployed. The courage is coming out, and I'm going to win this match. There is no catch. I'm knocking you out, and you are out. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing, Aaron. It's very, very powerful stuff. Our last poet tonight is Diane Moomey. She is a watercolorist and poet living in Half Moon Bay, California, where she co-hosts a monthly reading series, Coastside Poetry. Her latest collection, Make for Higher Ground, is available from Barefoot Muse Press. Earlier collections include Figure in the Landscape, Love's House, and Nothing But Itself from Day's Eye Press and Studios. Here's Diane.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. How is my sound? Good, okay. This set is dedicated to a super special someone and love in the 8th decade, when you never thought it was going to happen. So this first one is a memoir piece dedicated to the ones who got me through some long, dark northeastern winter nights. Radio Man. Sometimes in late life West Coast sun, she thinks it was a dream, being upstairs in her room under the roof in the old farmhouse they lived in for a couple of hard winters almost in Canada. Winters when it got dark at 5 o'clock and the snow blew into the kitchen under the front door, and one morning there was an icicle hanging from the bathroom faucet. That kind of winter. Well, in this dream, or not a dream, she's got her parents' big old Philco in her room, metallic purple with a lighted dial. And when the needle finds the perfect spot on this old Westinghouse, she can catch the radio man, his honey, smoky voice just drifting her way up from Syracuse or down from Montreal, Chicago if the weather's right, or Detroit. And he plays blues and city music just for her through this old RCA, his smoky voice regaling her with tales about the songs, the singers, their lives, oh, their magic lives, so far away from hers. But the signal drifts in and out on this old zenith. While downstairs in the den, beneath the antlered head of a deer and a stuffed pheasant, the old man would finger pick his Gibson, falsetto Hank's Your Cheatin' Heart, and I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And on the record player beside the yellow cabbage roses that papered the parlor, the old lady would listen to Carmen, loud, a Gladys somebody doing the habanera. And all that sound drifts up the stairs, so she keeps turning up the volume, and the signal keeps drifting off and on. She keeps on tuning and turning that Panasonic pointer just a hair to the left, a hair to the right. She's just following that honey voice around the dial. Oh, just following him all around that dial. Coloratura. The man who hears hues, visits a Sherwin-Williams store. You found it so intoxicating, the way the choir masters conducting in the paint department arrange as if in scales of diatonic, pentatonic, of supratonic glory, as if in chords of baritone, of bass and tenor, alto, soprano with delicate modulations, in keys both major and minor, arrange with exquisite, deliberate, and possibly even loving precision those cardboard squares of color. The deepest indigo sweeps grandly heavenward until, diminishing by whispers, it disappears to almost white, with barely a spectrum hair's distinction between its hue and the shade of blue on the row that's nestled beside it, starting all over again and chiming all at once, inebriating. You had to leave this symphony behind while you were still coherent, quickly choosing a card or two from every row, a humming handful, taking it home to plan. A scherzo for the entrance hall, G major for the bathroom walls. For bedroom, something even finer, a rhapsody in C sharp minor. This next piece is a haibun, which is a Japanese form consisting of a haiku and a prose poem. And the haiku can either come before or after the prose. So in this one, it's coming before. Pomegranate. Beneath the peel, seed syllables, rhyming stanzas, scarlet cantata. I was trying to remember exactly what you'd said today about the pomegranate and passion, how you fashioned your words, and whether it was you or another poet in the room who'd said pomegranate was the apple in the Garden of Eden, the crowned apple. No matter, for what you said about the pomegranate was so delightfully and passionately enchanting that as soon as the reading was over, I walked to the market and there they were. I searched through the basket for one that still had its crown and found that one, bought it, brought it home. It is neither too large nor too small, and is of a perfectly imperfect lumpy roundness, lumpiness almost bursting through the blushing redness of skin, oh my, with a hint of coppery green beneath. And look, starry pointed crown surrounds a flurry of seeds, almost too much to take in. I had to put it into a green glazed bowl where it will rest quietly while I ponder whether it could ever be eaten. Then I turned my attention back to you, who, after all, brought me to pomegranate in the first place. This next poem is in two voices. I'm kind of experimenting with alternating stanzas, so thanks for the opportunity to try it out. 2 cups of coffee. She finds a certain sadness in a single cup, a single earring, single cookie on a plate, her single cup. So when he's gone away, there must, while he is traveling, summoned far afield, summoned ineluctably far afield, There must be two each morning, companions side by side. Just black, he'd mentioned once, and hot, no sweet, no cream. I like your simple basic coffee, any kind. Peregrinations, driving from here to there. Peregrinations, driven from there to here. Just barefoot, her daddy had called that way of coffee, in days gone by, in days when she'd had a daddy to breakfast with. Just barefoot, he'd said, bitter, hot. He liked it that way. Possibly orbiting some distant sun, slowly orbiting some distant moon. She fills two cups set side by side, her cream in one, the other barefoot, sips from each in turn and talks in whispers to his. The liquid slides along her tongue. Hey, you, holding space, now apogee. Love you, keeping faith, now perigee. This next one is a gardener's love poem. I worked as a residential gardener for many years. Hoping Lazarus, nearly invisible, a single plum suspended in space, a solitary fruit in a corner against a dark fence, overgrown with Lady Banks rose, with climbing peace, with ivy, bramble, almost invisible. Just a single shaft of sun illuminates a shriveled shape months beyond its juicy day. One ray. I push through massed bloom, pink and white and yellow. Follow the gleam, pull aside the thorny tendrils, reveal the now prune. Its parent branches a dozen brown whips that once upon a time were heavy with green and with purple. A twisted bark beetled trunk below. I cut and tie until nothing at all lies between that plum and the wide blue sky. Now I do what the gardener taught me to do. Make marks with a thumbnail all along the dead wood toward the trunk, and where there appears a green crescent beneath the nail, cut there. And so I cut and offer water, cut each stem, give water, seal the wounds with tar, give water, pull weeds, sing. One needs to sing to bring a tree back to life. One needs to sing. Here we go, a maying. Green grow the rushes, ho. Hey down, ho down, dairy, dairy down among the leaves so green, ho. Sing. In time, the finer tunings, mulch and food. For now, sing, water. Sing, water, sing, water, sing and wait. Wait, wait, yes, wait. As a cupped palm might hold pebbles, scooped from any riverbank, rounded stones, salmon-colored, ochre, rosy gray, rounded stones, their small weight a warm pressing down, pressing warm. Just so does the cupped heart hold its own pebbles, cradle its own pebbles. The cupped heart. Certain stones are still wet and warm, will remain wet and warm, and occasionally even shrapnel can be worn shiny and smooth, smooth and shiny with the passing of years. This next is another haibun. And again, the haiku is first. Unpacking. My love took one step, and I saw a dance entire. My love spoke one word. Could have been a haiku, those few enchanting words that arrived in my mental inbox overnight, arrived wrapped and tied with ribbons. Could have been, might have stayed a haiku, senryu, could have been a rhyming couplet, except that each of those words trembled a bit as the wrappings fell away, shook as if in cold, and so of course I reached out my poet's hand to comfort. And as each word lay shivering, its door fell ajar, revealing an entire room within, behind, beyond each. And so, of course, I went in, who would not, and walked around. Each word thus somehow became a stanza, and the poem unfolded into a tower, room over room. Each room somehow pleased to be thus exposed, viewed, occupied. And my final poem, each, yes, each moment is its own cathedral. The pillars, arched ceilings, the stained glass. Light comes in from somewhere else. One enters, wanders dumbstruck, until moved along by a gentle but inexorable hand into the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. And thanks all the poets who read tonight. Thank Valerie Lockhart and the Minneapolis Television Network for putting this on. And thanks to everybody who's listening in. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.